And to my fellow citizens, America is back.
I enjoyed it. I'm not even one for political speeches. I'll be honest with you. I hardly ever watch them. But since this was I call it a State of the Union. I realize it wasn't a State of the Union, but that's what it was. Since Trump was speaking and it was his first one, I decided I would sit down with my wife and we put our feet up and we watch it, see what we liked, see what we didn't like. And again, I don't like political speeches. I loved it. I thought it was wonderful. I thought there were so many wonderful moments last night for a variety of reasons. One of the main reasons I loved it so much was I'm mindful of how many people aren't like you, aren't like me, that don't pay attention really that much. You don't realize how hyper-informed you are, how much more informed you are than other Americans until you sit down and talk to normal people. And I don't live in Washington, D.C. I don't live in New York City. I don't run around with politicians and other people on TV or radio. I run around with normal people. And I sit down and have a conversation. We're playing horseshoes. It's game night, church, whatever. They don't know anything. Nothing. All the stuff you know, they don't have any idea. And so Trump, he did this a lot last night, really laid out a lot of things that have happened, things you knew, things I knew, but things that the norms and normas needed to hear. And look, right off the bat, pointed a big old fat finger at Democrats and really dropped the hammer on them saying, yeah, how'd arresting me work out?
And we've ended weaponized government where, as an example, a sitting president is allowed to execute his political opponent, like me. How did that work out? Not too good. Not too good.
And let's talk about that for a moment before we get on to the rest of the speech, because have you seen the numbers for the speech, the approval numbers? I was honestly shocked because the country's very evenly divided. We love to believe that we are this gigantic majority and that all communism has been rejected by the American people, but that's simply not the case. It's, 51, 48. It's always right about in there. Let's talk about that. The approval numbers for Donald Trump's speech are in the 70s. The last number I saw was 76%. And when you go down the issues, is he talking about what you care about? Did you think it was hopeful? They were all close to 70%. The American people, not just you, not just me, the American people loved what they saw last night. So let's just discuss the lawfare really quickly, shall we? What Democrats did was horrible. It was evil, frankly. It was third world banana republic stuff. You know all that stuff. And the American people rejected it. And we should not discount that, because if Democrats had done what they did to Donald Trump and it had worked, they would be more encouraged to do it to the next Republican nominee. There is a chance that having arrested Donald Trump, all these felonies, things like that, having watched that backfire on them so badly, there's a chance that Democrats won't do it again because it backfired politically. The American people watched what they did, and they were not swayed to the left. They were swayed to the right. The American people, as uninformed as many of them may be, still instinctually knew this is evil, this is wrong, this cannot stand. And that was good. And it was nice watching Donald Trump bring it up again, because we cannot allow America to forget the evil of the last 4 years. We cannot allow them to forget, because people tend to forget. Now, speaking of the hyper-informed stuff, you watch I'm Right every night, I'm sure. You are well aware of the government waste. You are most definitely aware of all the things DOGE has been uncovering, where your money, where my money has been going. But your normie neighbor, he doesn't really understand. He doesn't spend his day consuming politics, figuring out the news. Donald Trump, knowing he had a lot of eyeballs on him last night, laid out some things the American people needed to hear.
Just listen to some of the appalling waste we have already identified. $22 billion from HHS to provide free housing and cars for illegal aliens. $45 million for diversity, equity, and inclusion scholarships in Burma. $40 million to improve the social and economic inclusion of sedentary migrants. Nobody knows what that is. $8 million to promote LGBTQI+ in the African nation of Lesotho, which nobody has ever heard of. $60 million for indigenous peoples and Afro-Colombian empowerment in Central America. $60 million. $8 million for making mice transgender. This is real.
As you saw, he injected humor. It was endearing. And he laid out what Democrats have done with your money and are still doing with your money. And I know you knew it already, but it was so nice to hear him lay that out for the American people. And let's talk about Democrats for a moment. In fact, let's focus on them for a few. I know they will come back one day. We've talked about this before. You know this. No one's down forever. Republicans will be out of power. They'll lose an election, and Democrats will all run to the television and say, wow, we're going to have power forever. They'll never come back. But that's not true. And Republicans do the same thing. We win an election, and we lie to ourselves and convince ourselves that the other side is out, and they're down, and they're gone forever, and we never have to worry about that again. But that's not true. So I know Democrats will come back. They could come back in 4 years. I don't know. 4 years is a long time in politics. But right now, they are a party that is completely lost. And they are lost in part because of the Trump derangement syndrome that has been concrete. It's been cemented into their mentality, where no matter what he does, even when he takes a stance on something that is popular with virtually everybody, they feel obligated to their base to oppose it. And Trump, knowing how they would conduct themselves last night, let the American people know. He basically said, hey, watch these dirtballs. Watch how un-American they are just to oppose me.
This is my fifth such speech to Congress. And once again, I look at the Democrats in front of me, and I realize there is absolutely nothing I can say to make them happy or to make them stand or smile or applaud. Nothing I can do. I could find a cure to the most devastating disease, a disease that would wipe out entire nations, or announce the answers to the greatest economy in history, or the stoppage of crime to the lowest levels ever recorded. And these people sitting right here will not clap, will not stand, and certainly will not cheer for these astronomical achievements. They won't do it, no matter what. Five times I've been up here. It's very sad, and it just shouldn't be this way.
You know who loves to hear that stuff? Norm. He does. Because they're not as partisan as you and I are. Norm, he wants to see the American people stand for good things. Norm and Norma, they may not agree with you and I. In fact, they don't on all the issues if we were to go down the list of taxes and spending and abortion and things like that. But they want people to stand up and cheer for basic humanity, basic good things. Look, I'll be honest, you know I'm probably a little rough around the edges and not exactly the most emotional human being on the planet. But there were moments last night, I got a little misty. When Donald Trump was talking about Jocelyn Nungary, that 12-year-old girl who was savaged by those barbarians Democrats brought into the country on purpose, and when he announced that there was a wildlife refuge that he was naming after her, it tugged at me. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful thing to do for that mother. Can you imagine the heartbreak? I can't. I can't imagine the heartbreak, but it was a beautiful thing to do, a way to memorialize her daughter permanently. It was wonderful. Who wouldn't want that? But I mean, look, maybe you can make the argument that because it was an illegal who did it, and Democrats know they have to love barbarians, maybe they can't stand and cheer for that. Okay, maybe if I even gave you that one, fine. But that adorable 13-year-old boy he's got brain cancer. He's been fighting brain cancer for years, And in a moment, I'll tell you, I had to pretend like my allergies were kicking up. In a moment where he gets his Secret Service badge and he gets acknowledged in front of everybody, I'll tell you what, my wife, who's not a crier either, was a freaking wreck. She was reaching for the tissues. It was just so touching. Democrats so lost, so committed to opposing everything Trump does, couldn't even stand for that.
Joining us in the gallery tonight is a young man who truly loves our police. His name is DJ Daniel. He is 13 years old, and he has always dreamed of becoming a police officer. But in 2018, DJ was diagnosed with brain cancer. The doctors gave him 5 months at most to live. That was more than 6 years ago. And tonight, DJ, we're going to do you the biggest honor of them all. I am asking our new Secret Service Director, Sean Curran, to officially make you an agent of the United States Secret Service. Thank you, DJ.
They couldn't even get up and clap for a kid who probably won't be with us for a long time. Getting an honor like that, I mean, golly, I about got choked up again just watching it again. And it's not just that they couldn't stand up for it. You had these vile little monsters like Nicole Wallace on television, just so poisoned, so full of bitterness, saying things like this.
But I think this was a lesson in finding one thing that you let yourself feel. And I let myself feel joy about DJ. And I hope he's alive for another, 95 years, right? And I hope he lives and the life he wants to live. He wants to be a cop. He knows what he wants to do. And maybe when you have childhood cancer, that crystallizes for you. And I hope he has a long life as a law enforcement officer. But I hope he never has to defend the United States Capitol against Donald Trump supporters. And if he does, I hope he isn't one of the 6 who loses his life to suicide. And I hope he isn't one who has to testify against the people who carried out acts of seditious conspiracy and then live to see Donald Trump pardon those people.
I call communists anti-humans for a reason. It's just what they are. I've told you before that the reason these people have killed so many people in the last 100 years, it's just amazing. Wherever they go, they're like a disease. Wherever they go, people die in droves. The reason is not that they don't care about human beings. They despise them. They despise them. There's nothing good in them left. It's a sick, demonic religion. It is, and they're normally better at hiding it than the modern Democrat Party has been now. They can't get out of their own way. And look, Donald Trump's presidency sits right now at about 52% approval rating, depending on what you look at. That's good. It's not world-changing, but it's very, very good. We've seen presidents. Joe Biden was dipping way down in the 30s. Democrat Party approval, last time I checked, was in the low 30s because of this stuff. They can't hide their demonic nature anymore. It's amazing to see. And setting that aside, let's just talk about the border as we wrap this up here. We have a great show for you tonight. Democrats brought all those animals into the country on purpose. Laken Riley, Jocelyn Nungary. But those are just the two cases we know about. Case after case after case across the country. Murder, rape, robbery, murder, rape, robbery. American citizens being pillaged by third world barbarians that Democrats brought into the country on purpose. Remember, it wasn't a mistake. It wasn't a whoopsie. And it's important that Donald Trump continues to remind the normies and normos of the United States of America that Democrats brought barbarians into your country as fast as humanly possible to rape and murder your citizens. And Donald Trump dropped this gem last night about it.
The media and our friends in the Democrat Party kept saying we needed new legislation. We must have legislation to secure the border. But it turned out that all we really needed was a new president.
Remember that. Remember that the next time your friend gets frustrated with Republicans and considers voting for Democrats. I get frustrated with Republicans all the time. You watch me get frustrated nightly on this show. You cannot vote for a party that will purposely import barbarians into your country as fast as possible. You simply cannot. Oh, and just a little reminder as I wrap this thing up, we want to move on here and we're just going to talk about Al Green getting kicked out and things like that. Just a reminder that Republican Senator from the red state of Oklahoma, James Lankford, he tried to pass a massive Democrat amnesty bill under Joe Biden and insisted that it was necessary to secure the border. Red state Oklahoma, let's do better next time, shall we? All that may have made you uncomfortable, but I am right. I would thank you for coming to my YouTube channel, but I know how brilliant it is, and I know you love it here. So subscribe and watch. We're going to start really ramping things up and putting some funny stuff, some interesting stuff out there, some collaborations. Either way, my YouTube channel is officially the place to be. So stick around.